Riley, thank you so much for taking time to have a conversation about your ongoing project, Vestibule, which is an incredible forthcoming documentary. We've been lucky enough at BFC to see the project. You've shopped it with us a couple times over the years. I
Yeah.
think maybe the first time I saw it might have been in 2019. I feel like it was the first BFC I moderated,
Mm-hmm.
potentially.
Yeah.
And so it's this, yeah, this labor of love that is coming together so beautifully. And this past September, I was planning to attend Camden Film Festival in Camden, Maine, and I saw that you were participating in the Points North Fellowship, which culminates in a very beloved pitch competition through which a lot of incredible films have been in. So it seemed like a wonderful opportunity. And then lo and behold, your pitch won the competition. The pitches were all actually really strong about you and your team and the strength of the pitch. So I had wanted to kind of just grab you in that moment and see what that experience was like, check in with you about the project, and yeah, kind of like hear some pearls of wisdom about what it's like to pitch. You know, how do you do that? What happens when you're doing that? What happens after you do that? And so on. So maybe we can start with taking a look at the trailer that you currently have.
Roll the tape.
Roll tape.
How this feels very weird and not like me, inauthentic. But I'm gonna try it, and hopefully this footage never sees the light of day, and I mean that. But there's something here. There's something about vaginas that I think is worth talking about.
This area of tissue is called the vulvar vestibule. Houses have vestibules, churches, synagogues. Supposed to be warm, welcome, inviting places. Yours wasn't. Now this is an enlarged diagram. The vestibule is a back.
That experience is in your body. You're just going to follow the movement, and perhaps it will begin to tell you a story about something.
The vagina is formed by a process called invagination, in which tissue folds in on itself. By going inward, I found a space for our stories, for our bodies, for each other. A space to find our own way of moving beyond this choreography of shame, of silence. A liminal space, a passage. A vestibule.
So was this the trailer that we saw during the pitch?
It actually changed. We had like a week long kind of like mentorship program as part of the fellowship leading up to the pitch with really like in-depth feedback from amazing mentors. And we had a different version of the teaser going into that and a different version of the pitch too, and got some really amazing feedback from one of our mentors who had like watched the project through like other applications and like seen its progress, and kind of came back to us saying like that the pitch was lacking some vulnerability and kind of a story, and that yeah, it was really amazing feedback, just kind of like very kindly, but very like you could just tell that this mentor was very in touch with the project, and said like there was this footage of you like sitting on your bed like struggling to talk about this issue, and that was like so vulnerable, and like that level of like vulnerability is missing from the pitch that you are presenting to us now in practice. And so I brought that footage back, and it turned the whole pitch into a story where we could start in this vulnerable place, being like, I don't want to talk about this thing, and then get to the place at the end where I'm able to like stand up there and confidently say that vaginas are worth talking about, and kind of like stand in that power, because it like was a process for me, but still is a process. And it turned the pitch into a story, which I think was a really valuable thing, because otherwise we were kind of standing up there being like, from the beginning, being like, vaginas are important. Let me tell you this, let me tell you that. And it kind of came off as like almost like preemptively being like, you're going to be uncomfortable about this. Let me tell you why it's important. Let me like give you all the reasons why you shouldn't be uncomfortable. Like kind of like caveating everything from the beginning is a little bit what our pitch was doing. And so I think it was a really powerful move to like start in that vulnerable place with the audience and be like, we're all a little uncomfortable here, and go on a journey and get to a more comfortable, confident place.
Absolutely. That was completely successful, and you really put a fine point on it right there in terms of like, yeah, being in that vulnerability, and then you guys come out and you speak with a lot of, I mean, there was a lot of emotion in that moment, and on the other side of that, there was you speaking with this incredible power. So the pitch itself felt like a journey, right? Where we went kind of from that vulnerability to that power, and gave us a really tangible sense that that's what watching the film would also be like.
Yeah. I was going to say that's exactly like the journey of the film, and was the journey of that week. Like it's kind of like a meta experience where it was like everything was kind of like leading towards what the film is about, which is like really, like I got emotional while the teaser was playing, and had to kind of like go back in the back by myself for a moment. And then Bryn, my producer, like turned to me and she was like, Riley, shake. Because we had done these like embodiment like exercises and different things, like shaking off, like on our own and with our mentors throughout the week. And so she remembered that, like told me to do it. So I was back there like shaking. And then when I got up on the stage, did it with the audience too, in like it wasn't planned or anything. But it's like what I really needed to do in that moment. And that's like exactly what the film is about, is like finding these tools in your body to advocate for yourself, to find safety. Like, so it just felt really cool, like very meta, like the whole week, the whole pitch, the whole film. It's all about the same kind of stuff.
Well, to pull back a little bit, like when you first applied for this pitch opportunity, where were you with the film, and like what were you hoping to get out of participating?
I think that this round of applying was probably like my third round of applying for the Points North Fellowship, which is just like a side note, something that I've noticed with like all applications. Like when we got the Sundance Documentary Fund, that was, I think, the third or fourth time applying to that. And it just feels like part of the process, to keep coming back, to keep showing them that you've like made improvements. So that's just like a
Wow.
word of advice that like I don't if I apply for something the first time, I don't ever really expect to get it, just based on that experience, that I'm like, oh, third time's a charm.
Okay.
So yeah, so I don't even know the first time I applied to it, but many years ago. But this time around, I think just I'm like with this film, because I've been working on it for just about 9 years and really didn't it's only been like, I mean, it's very personal, so I kind of like kept it to myself for a long time. And it's only been more recently that I've been like more public about it and received more like industry support for it. So I think like being a part of this pitch is just like, I think the biggest thing is like to put your name and the film's name like on this slate of films is really amazing. And to just be like be chosen for this, like I think feels like that's what felt like the biggest pull to it. And I think that is like the biggest reward from it, is just to be like selected for it. Because like the panel is really a lot of amazing industry people. And so just to get the project out there in front of everyone felt important and valuable. And that was something that one of our mentors said, is like, it takes like 3 times or something, or maybe it's more, like 7 times of people hearing about your project for it to like actually like, for it to like really register and for them to like remember it. So yeah, just like any kind of ways of like external validation like actually is really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's incredible that you were able to, and you talked about this, having this mentor that gave you a really useful note that you were able to work into the trailer and into the kind of arc of the pitch itself. Which I don't know, maybe that was something you already knew about the film, or maybe that's something that you can kind of think about elevating in the film itself. But it's amazing to have worked on something this long and kind of like so deeply understand the film and the subject matter, but be able to take in that feedback. You've heard at this point like feedback from 1,000 people, and you've learned probably to listen to some of that feedback, and like and the feedback that you have to not listen to deliberately, and kind of like keep to your vision. How do you know when you hear that coming in, like how did you know that that was a good note, or like how did you know to try that?
Yeah, that's a really good thing to note. And I do feel like in a place now, 9 years in, and having written like so many drafts of the grant applications, and really like continuing to like be in this place with like our rough assembly kind of cut that we have, like, and working with a consulting editor, like really being able to like understand what the film is about, like writing about it constantly and editing it and really examining it. So I do feel like I'm in a place now, and it took years and years to get here, where I do feel confident about like what it's about and what I want to say. And so now I'm in a place where I do feel like I can receive that feedback and be able to like tell what's resonating for me, what feels aligned with the film that I want to make, and what doesn't. And I think, I mean, it's been like, such a long process, but I am like proud of the way that I have kept the film close to myself for so long, to be able to figure that out, because it's such a personal story. I was never willing to kind of like let anyone else tell me what it is. Like I needed to figure it out for myself, and it took a really long time. But I think like I had an experience early on where I got like feedback on a very early grant proposal, like within the first year, and it was brutal. And so I'm glad that I had that experience, because I was like, absolutely not. I can't have this. Like, I don't need this. And there's other times like people being like, well, have you thought about making a short? Like things like that when they see the teaser or something like that. And just a few times of getting stuff like that kind of made me keep it close again too, just because I was like, I need to keep this to myself, figure out what it is so that I can present it. So if I hear things like that, I can feel more strong and confident in being like, no, it's not a short. No, or, just like, yeah, the feedback was so brutal that I was just like, I can't subject myself to that until I'm like really confident in what this is.
Right. Right. Wow. Yeah, I think everybody can relate to that at
Mm-hmm.
some point, right? Like that's, yeah, part of the creative process is being kind of vulnerable and like letting your thing hang out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Um,
but I feel like there is maybe it was valuable, but I think it's also a learning experience that there is a stage that's too early to subject yourself to that kind of thing because that could have just made me stop. And
yeah.
then, and all those people who gave that feedback then, you know, like see where the film is now. Like it's just like, I don't, yeah, I think that that's something that you need to find for yourself is like, when's the stage when you're ready for that? Because nobody wants to kill someone's creative little idea, but it can happen.
Yeah. And why didn't that stop you?
Oh, I've just been like, I am so committed to making this film. I don't know. It's just something that I have to finish. It's so personal. I mean, I like sometimes lie awake at night, just like, what am I doing? Like, do it because it's so personal. Uh, Sometimes I question like if I actually wanted to be out there in the world and what I've chosen to do, but then I just keep coming back to like needing to do this. And so I don't really know, except just like of some kind of drive, something beyond me and I think once the family stories started to become part of my film, um, that helps too to bring it beyond me into like themes that just feel so universal. And when I have conversations with people, like the film resonates with lots of people who don't have the same condition as me, and so it just feels important and like there will be an audience and there will be people who care.
Yeah. Yes. Um, Absolutely. Yeah, I think your audience is starting to tee up. And it's so interesting. I mean, the film is really not like any other film, which is maybe I can imagine this brutal feedback being like all these people trying to wrap their minds around the thing they haven't seen
Mm-hmm.
yet. And like that's like kind of one of the most vulnerable places of all when you're like trying to, yeah, when you're creating something really new,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's
Yeah.
not, chef's table about vaginas, like it's not, like it maybe has some ancestors, but it doesn't have any siblings, I don't
Yeah.
think.
No,
Yeah.
that's true. And that's someone said that on the panel during the pitch of like, I've read this application before. It had a lot going on with like dance, essay, documentary, like, and now she said that she got it like with the pitch for some reason, like something clicked. And
Mhm.
someone else said that off the panel. And I thought that was an interesting thing about pitching is that maybe like the being in person, that like level of like vulnerability that's like not written on the page, but is like right there in front of you and authentic, like that, that helps something to click.
So what's been the outcome of Camden, Ilava, like these pitch competitions? Like, is there a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow? Like, what happens after you successfully pitch a film?
I feel like it's still TBD. Like it seems like a little bit. I know that like it's helping for people in the industry to like know and maybe respect or respect not the right word, but like for the project to be like valid and out there and real and it's happening and I don't know, just like so I think that's definitely happened, but I couldn't tell you any like specific. It's not like, and then we got funded, or and then, you know, like we've had some interesting meetings. We'll continue to see where things go. And like industry stuff feels like it works on like kind of a slow timeline, you know, like applying to a grant and then like a year later, six months, 9 months later, you find out if you get it or you didn't. And it's just so that kind of like I think it just works on a different timeline. So we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, yeah. And where are you now? I saw some amazing stills from the studio shoots, the choreographed scenes that you were shooting in New York.
Yeah, we just did that first dance shoot a month ago. There's quite a bit more to film, but it's really amazing to have these like proof of concept scenes that we can like start to show people like this is because I think it has been the missing element and something that has been hard to imagine. And like you've seen in rough cuts, like the mocked up, like I've like put like little iPhone, like here's the iPhone footage of like the choreography, and then back here would be like a AI kind of like rendering of like what I wanted it to look like. And so it was like this strange little like mock-up that I would do. And that stuff is still in the cut, but now it's alongside the real stuff. So I think the watching experience is a much better to where like if it is temp still, you can see exactly what it is going to be. So I'm hoping that actually, and we were able to do that shoot with the grant from the Sundance Documentary Fund. So that was like a scary process to like commit that money to be able to hopefully be able to fundraise more from that. Like that was really scary for me because it took so long to get that grant. So it was like yeah, but you know, took a chance believing in the vision. I tried to come up with different ways to do it differently, and I just kept coming back to like this is how I want it to look, this is what I want it to
Yeah.
be. So we chose to commit to that and are choosing to believe in the vision and hoping that it's possible to shoot the rest of them.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, they look gorgeous. I can imagine that the production and the expense around shooting stylized studio sequences with lighting and sets and, you know, choreography that like the budget is probably like, you know, much higher than a typical documentary day, particularly if you're doing a lot of it yourself. And
Totally. There was no, I mean, like I filmed most everything else by myself or had friends film like doctor's appointments. So, and I've been editing myself. Like we've spent almost 9 years, spent like almost no money. And then all of a sudden it's just such a contrast, you know? So, but definitely came very far with very little. And so,
yeah,
yeah.
amazing. Well, how can people help support the project at this stage?
I don't know.
Click and subscribe.
You can follow us, Vestibule Film on Instagram. If you, I mean, like a really cool thing is to start to build community around the film before it's out. So if it resonates with you, if you know anyone who has vulvodynia, vestibulodynia, pelvic pain, like definitely wanting to build that community. That's like the primary audience and definitely expands out from there into like lots of different people who can resonate in lots of different ways. But we definitely want the film to serve that community. And it's like, I mean, it's as I said in the pitch, up to 28% of people with vulvas experience chronic vulvovaginal pain at some point in their lifetime. So that's like a huge number of people. So probably someone you know or someone who knows someone else. Like it's you know, like someone in your life probably has experienced this. So that's I would love to just like get the conversation started. Then that's kind of the goal of the film, is like film can be used as a tool to like bring more people into the conversation and into the organizing work that people are doing around this and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if you know of any funders, any rich ladies,
Yeah,
we'll take those too.
you'll go to their boardroom and pitch the film for them privately.
Sure, I'd love to. We have a great pitch.
Yes, you do.